Welcome to the Lean Out Your Business podcast, a show dedicated to helping entrepreneurs accelerate business growth and simplify success. I'm your host, Krista Grasso, and I've been working with businesses for more than 2 decades to help them lean out and optimize what's working while eliminating anything that's not adding value. So if you are ready to get more time back in your day, more profit in your business, and to do business differently, growing and scaling on your terms, let's dive into today's episode. Hello, and welcome to another episode of the Lean Out Your Business podcast. I'm so excited today to be introducing you to Michelle Fernandez. She is a Facebook and Instagram ad strategist, funnel expert, and speaker. And if you happen to find me through a Facebook ad, you probably have Michelle to thank for that. So I've been working with her for quite some time on all things paid advertising and strategy. So I'm excited to get to share her brilliance and expertise with you all today. And we're going to dive into how do you build a high converting ad strategy, and what are some of those timeless things that we want to keep in mind, and what's actually working right now. Because I think we all know the volatility that's going on, and ads is an ever moving target of what works, what doesn't. It seems like it changes constantly. So we're actually recording this one right before we release it, so you can be confident that what she says is working now is actually working now. Michelle, welcome. I'm so excited that you're here.
Hey, I'm so excited to be here and I can't wait to dive in because, yeah, there's a lot of changes. It's not like you think it's changing, it's always changing. And there have been quite a bit of changes. And even going forward over the next 12 months or so, there's a lot of good things coming out. So I'm glad to be here. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. I'm excited to dive in, but first let me tell you a little bit more about Michelle and then we'll get to the good stuff. So, she actually started off working with major influencers using organic marketing strategies. So, we'll talk a
Mhm.
little bit about that today too, but she noticed some of the ever evolving limitations in organic growth and realized that she really needed to supplement that with paid advertising. So she dove in, learned everything she possibly could about becoming the expert she is today at paid ads. And now she has shifted her focus to focus entirely on ad and funnel strategy from everyone from smaller local businesses to multiple 7-figure business owners. And I think her superpower is that she knows how to combine the most powerful organic strategies, funnel strategies, and ad strategies to really help her clients get great results and have 6-figure launch results without 6-figure ad spend, which is an art and a science that I'm sure you will share all about today. So let's go ahead and dive into today's topic. So, I think a lot of people resist ads in general because it's a little scary to know that you're handing a whole lot of money over and you don't necessarily know what kind of results you're going to get back. But we've
Mhm.
all also heard or experienced a lot of the challenges that have come up with iOS changes and just some of the ever evolving changes that have been going on. And so I think a lot of people are reimagining or pausing or stopping their Facebook ads and trying to go back to more of an organic marketing method. And
Mhm.
so, what are some of those limitations that we want to be careful of if we're putting all of our eggs in an organic basket, if you will?
Yeah, and that's a really good question. And you're absolutely right. A lot of people are shifting back to this. Well, what happens is your organic marketing can only get you so far, right? You have only so much of a warm audience. And once you tap out of that warm audience, you're going to be like, wait, what happened? I was doing so great. This organic thing was working wonderful. But it's like, what are you doing to get cold people to come into this, your organic uh, marketing, if you will? To then warm them up. So whenever you're looking to build a business, I don't care what kind of business you have, even from like McDonald's to like, Macy's or something like that, they're constantly getting new people into their funnel in order for them to get leads and sales. So if you're only working with your existing people right now, you're going to run out of people to talk to, and then your business will either stay stagnant or close, right? So that's one of the things that I'm always like, yes, you can do it, but you need a component or a companion to that organic to get those leads and sales coming in.
Yeah, that's such a good point. And I think for many of us, I know I'll speak for myself, is most people who come to a workshop that I do or something live who come in cold, they don't buy the first time. It takes a few
Hmm.
different times for them to really truly warm up. And so if you look at your buying cycle and your conversion of cold people to purchase, do they purchase within, 5 seconds of meeting you or, hearing about you, or does it take a little bit longer? And so I think what you said is such a good point is you might get good results short term, but those are the people that have been hanging out for a while on your list or those warm referrals. So they're already warm, but without the new cold people coming in to get warmed up, you do kind of run out of those leads who are ready to buy and you have to go through this whole warming period all over again.
Absolutely. And then when you're trying to warm people up and trying to do this on your own, the bandwidth, the amount of time that you're engaging in, which you definitely should be doing, but to get to scale or to grow to the point that you want to, I mean, it's almost impossible, even if you had like this full force team. Listen, look at how many salaries and benefits or whatever you're paying your people to do this engagement, or that's where the paid strategies come in, where that cuts out some of that time, pre-qualifies them, and then gets them in, so then you can focus on warming up these qualified people organically, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it does. And you touched on something there that I'd like to dive a little deeper into because I don't think it's an either or. I think it's a yes and. And so,
Yes.
how do organic marketing and paid advertising fit well together to shorten the buying cycle and to get better conversions and better results?
Hmm. So it kind of goes stemming off of what I said. So if you're thinking of, I'm paying this money, right? I'm spending my hard-earned dollars on this paid traffic to get people in. If you don't, if you're like, I'm only going to do ads, forget, I don't have the time to even think about blah blah blah. But then wait, now someone's following you and you're not doing anything to stay top of mind, or you're not doing anything to show and build your authority or to make that connection in order to build the relationship for them to go on their journey with you as their guide, right? So that's why it works so well in harmony. And then I know a lot of people think organic strategy is like Instagram or Facebook, right? However, we need to think about organic with our emails, and you touched base on that too. I was just meeting with a client yesterday, and we were talking about certain things going. And when we were looking at, it, I'm like, wait a minute, this is not all working in harmony, right? How are you getting them in? And once they become a lead, what is your email sequence? How are you nurturing them there, right? And then even if you want to go next level, what are you using organically with your connections or your relationships that you've made to get in front of their audiences, right? So I call that next level, because no one ever thinks about that as organic marketing strategies. And that's you're investing money in being in group coaching programs or masterminds, or even just buying a course. Who in those communities can you be reaching out to and then use that? So now you're on somebody's podcast, or you're on somebody's stage, or a bonus in their group. And it's like, now they're going to come and follow you. If you don't have certain things set up organically, or your emails or whatnot, you're going to lose all that time and effort, money that you're spending in doing that. So that's why it's important to have it all connected and working in harmony.
Yeah, and I feel like that's something that we've done a really great job of together behind the scenes here at Lean Out Method,
Mm-hmm.
which I really appreciate is it's not just go find somebody who knows how to run a Facebook ad or learn how to run a Facebook ad. I think it is that strategy and that very holistic look of what's the
Yes.
result that you're trying to get, what's the journey that your customer is going to go on, and how does it all stitch together with all of the different moving parts so that you're actually getting them to that result in the most
Mm-hmm.
strategic and efficient way possible. So I love
Yeah.
that that's your focus. And I really think
Mm-hmm.
what differentiates you from a lot of other people.
Yeah, and it's true. And like, I just decided the other day, maybe a couple months ago, that I'm like, it's building predictable growth, right? You want to know what revenue's coming in. It's no more of this feast or famine. And because that's that, especially as a small business owner, there's nothing worse than being like, how am I going to pay my bills this month, right? But if you know, like, I have this system in place where I can know, okay, I'm going to get so many leads or so many sales, and you're building this predictable growth, and it is all together. And it was so funny that you said because I was talking to somebody who has an ads manager, and she was asking me questions, which sometimes I don't like that because I don't know. I don't know what the other ads manager strategy is, and I don't want to go against what they're saying. So I'm just trying to tell them what questions that they should ask their ads manager to, to see what strategy they're using. And then as I was talking about it, they stop at the ad, right? So the ads role is to get the click. But then it's your job as the entrepreneur to get the lead or sale, right? So once they click onto your landing page or wherever, then that we need to see what's going on there, right? Or even like you were saying with the customer journey, it's like, okay, they opted into this lead magnet. Well, what is now that nurture sequence? Where are you getting them back in the funnel? So a lot of people talk about retargeting for ad purposes. You're also retargeting with your emails, with your organic marketing, everything to get them back in wherever they left off in your funnel, like your buying funnel, if that makes sense. So it's that all needs to be together in order for you to have this predictable growth and end up scaling, right?
Yeah, I agree entirely. You are totally speaking my language, which is why I so love working with you. Um, but that being said, I know a lot of people might be hearing this and saying, all right, I mean, I sort of get it, but I don't know that I'm sold that I want to take the risk of paid ads. I don't know that paid ads are for me
Mhm.
right now. Organic's working because they've got their nice little warm market, or their warm customer base, or maybe they've got a solid referral strategy and they're like, I don't really feel good about paid ads. And there's a lot of
Mhm.
paid ads that you see out there that aren't so good. So,
Right.
it can make you be like, I don't want to do that. So,
Right.
what are some things that people should be considering or thinking about from a belief perspective about ads so they can feel good about it? They can feel good
Mhm.
about the investment and not gross or not really stressed out about it.
Okay, so this is all a big thing, right? Because even in your email, sometimes you're like, "Well, I don't want to send an email every day, so I'll send one every 3 days or every week," and it's like they're gonna forget who you are, right? But anyway, back to the ads. So when it comes to this, it's you have to be thinking that someone is going to sell them something, right? If they're really have this problem there and looking for a solution, they're gonna find somebody. So why not you? Right? Why not you share your goodness, and you're really coming from a place of wanting to serve. If you don't come with that commission breath, like I once heard it called, if you don't come with that thing where it's like, oh my god, they're just trying to sell me on everything, they're going to feel really how authentic you are and how really that you want to serve, right? So if you come from that place of serving rather than selling, then you won't come across that way. And really, just if you think about it, if you're not putting it out there, you're depriving people of this transformation, this result that you know that you got, and what they can experience or benefit from getting that. So I think coming from that perspective is ultimately the best way to come anyway, whether you're doing ads or even pitching, right? Because when I started in network marketing, and I was like, the whole selling part, I was like, oh my gosh, do I really have to do this? And I was always afraid to sell. And meanwhile, all my family members were buying what I was selling from other people. And I think that was a light bulb moment that I'm like, what, hello, what about, but I'm like, I never, number one, opened my mouth to tell them what I was doing because I was embarrassed, or I thought, oh, I don't want them to think that every time I see them that I'm going to try to sell them something. But I don't think that there's anything wrong with that because you're going to be losing money on the table and not achieving your dreams as well.
Yeah, that's so true and such a great perspective. And I will say, I had some of those hesitations around paid ads in the beginning too. And I think it's just simply because you see some of the like really bro marketing that's being done or the
Yes.
really shady ads that are out there. And I think, you can do ads that are really authentic to you. But I think if the fact that you are serving is coming through in your ads, your passion for what you do is coming through in your ads,
Yes.
the transformation you want to get people is coming through, and you're not following these awful terrible scripts and just some of the other things that you see, you can also feel a lot better about it. I know I do. And I had a misperception of what ads were like and a bad experience with a prior ads person like a decade ago. um, and so that really shifted my thoughts and approaches to ads as well.
And even if you look at it as coming from, opening up the conversation, right? Making connections with people. Like, there's nothing better for me. I can speak from my experience when I go to make a purchase where it'd be like, oh my gosh, she totally gets me. Like, she understands me. I feel heard. I feel seen. Like, I know that this person's going to help me, because there's so many people where people suffer in silence. And you might be thinking, really, they want to grow their business? Yes, there's some deeper why that they want to grow their business, or they want to scale their business, or whatever it is, that they don't, like, they might be shy or embarrassed. But if someone has been there, done that, or can relate to them and speak their language, oh my gosh, you, like, I'm getting goosebumps, because I've been in that position where it's like, yes, please, I know that this is the right person that's going to help me. And for what you can do to that person on such a bigger level in their life, like, you shouldn't even be doubting anything that you're doing when it comes to paid traffic, selling, anything like that.
Yeah, such amazing points. And so if we're like, all right, I'm sold, doing paid
Yes.
traffic, or
Yes.
I'm gonna go back to paid traffic. I stopped. Oops. Move that back into my strategy for this year. What are the types of paid traffic that we really want to be leveraging right now?
Well, you kind of touch base on the iOS 14. So, just kind of as a rewind, the whole thing, the 14 came out, is all about privacy, right? So that's the new thing. Facebook decided that their cutting edge, or their competitive advantage, was not going to be technology or whatever. It was about privacy. So now what? They're on this bandwagon where everybody wants to not be tracked. They don't want to know what shoes you were shopping for, or whatever, right? So it's making it a little bit more difficult, which is why you're seeing, like, maybe prices are rising or things like that. But what's happening, it's all coming to evolving. And it's not just on Facebook's platform, because this literally affects everything, whether it's Google, YouTube, your emails are also being, whether you open up an email on an Apple device, that is not being tracked. So even certain things where we're like looking at our email open rate as our KPI, we can't be looking at that anymore, because that's not being tracked properly, right? But no need to fret, because Facebook is not going to lose out on all that money and all that good stuff. So when we're looking, I personally like Facebook and Instagram advertising over, let's say, YouTube or any other Google search engine. Because think about it, the search engine optimization, like Google, YouTube, Pinterest, those are, you're actually searching for something, right? So if I'm searching and then first whatever, and it comes up, I'm usually going to go with like the first or second, maybe third, or something that I recognize. Where with Facebook, you can actually put that ad in front of the person that you ideally would like to work with, that may not even know who the heck you are. So the opportunity to do that is so powerful for you to get out there. So, when we're looking at this, I look at different types of strategies on basically what are you doing, or what is your ultimate goal, to then figure it out. Like one of my clients, when you were talking about even like dealing with your warm audience and how it can work organically, we did ads to her current clients. And she increased her like B backs, like that I call them, where they come back, by 80%. So, mind you, they were getting weekly emails to remind them to come in, tell them their specials, whatever was going on. But yet they did not respond to the emails, but they responded because they saw an ad and thought, oh, this is so cool. I love that place. Let me go. Right. So those are the kinds of things when you're looking at like, where do I want to see? And whether you decide to do it or not, like, should I or shouldn't I, you need to think of the bigger capabilities and the power that this has to bring awareness to you, stay top of mind with you, and then ultimately make a lead or a sale.
Yeah, such great points. And what are the things when we think about ads? So if we take it down to kind of what's working now, what's not working now,
Mhm.
what are some of the things that people should really reimagine if they're still doing because they're not really working effectively right now? And what are some
Mhm.
things that you're seeing are working or coming?
Yes. Okay. So what's working? Let me write this down so I don't forget. Working or coming. Okay. So when I'm saying what's working now, you're going to see a lot of people have these lead forms, right? So you might see form on Facebook or something like that. So to get to the workaround of the privacy is I'm not going to have them leave the platform, meaning I'm not going to have them go to my website or my landing page. I'm going to have them stay on the platform so then we can track, retarget, and build these audiences, right? What happens with this is it's very good. Build your email list pretty fast at a lower cost. However, you also have to evaluate, is this right for you? Are you bringing in the quality of leads that you need? Because it's so easy for them, because a lot of times your name and email or phone number just pop right up on that form, right? So the ease to get in is less. So sometimes the quality of that lead is less, right? So that's something that is working well for some people. Some people are like, you know what, if they went this far, they're somewhat interested. So it might be just like a marketing lead, not like a a sales lead. So let me see how long now I can nurture them till they become a sales, so they're okay with that. So it all depends on what you're looking to do. But I would look at that to see if that is the right fit for you and what you have to offer. Another thing, again, to keep them on the platform is any video view campaigns, any post engagement campaign objectives. Also, they have messenger ads. So what does that mean? So it's like you put in something and say, hey, comment this below or let me know this. And when they type, it opens up in the messenger. And then you can then start the conversation. So that's a really good paid slash organic strategy, right? If you have the bandwidth to be in the DMs and answer those. So those are a lot of things that are working now, and especially when you're saying I want to go back to the organic or I want to get a better feel, those are some things that you should be testing to see if that really works for you. And it goes back to even market research, right? That's one thing that we are all supposed to do, and most of us only do it once when we first start. However, think about everything that has been changing over the past couple of years, like before COVID, during COVID, post COVID, even now where we're in this going in, or are we in a recession? I can't tell. And then it's kind of like, well, maybe you need to do some of these things to figure out what is going on in people's heads. What are they thinking? What are they feeling? What do they want? What are their dreams, desires, fears? What is all this going on for you to then come back and do better marketing to then get more leads and sales, to get higher qualified leads, right? So these are all kind of things that are working. When it's time, did you have any questions on that before
No, I think
I
that's great.
talked a
And I
lot?
just want to add, I just want to add one little thing is you said something so important there is even if your offers and your business remain unchanged, the way you're positioning those
Yeah.
offers probably needs to change based on, as you said, the changes that have just gone on for your client. If you're seeing the same, if you're using the same messaging, the same everything, and your results are dropping, it's probably not your offer. It's probably the positioning and
Yes.
experimenting with some of that. So I think that was such a good point, but I want to hear you keep going here.
Yeah, and even to that point, it's so important because a lot of people are like, "Are you struggling? Are you over?" It's like everybody says that. How are you specifically describing the struggle? So, what is the struggle? When I was talking about feast and famine, is it or do you feel like you're in this feast and famine cycle where every month you're asking yourself this? That is a very specific situation with a specific message, right? It's talking about a pain or a struggle, but it's not saying, are you overwhelmed, blah, 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 right? So this is something where if somebody's going through that, they can instantly relate. And I can guarantee you when you're doing this marketing research and you're talking to one person, there's going to be several others that feel the same way and most likely describe it the same way. So that is what you need to do to catch their attention and to hook them in and get them to take the action. Now, what's coming up again with all this, we're moving into this web 3.0 era. I always say that wrong. Where it's like what it just means is the next generation of the web, right? So what's going on? So without getting too technical and boring everybody, we're going right now, we're dealing with this third party data, right? So we have the pixels everywhere. And what happens is all the pixels talk to each other. That's why when you're shopping for those shoes, you see it on Facebook and then you go to YouTube and you see it on YouTube and then you go, to on Google or something, and then now you see the same, and like the shoes are following you everywhere, right? So the third party pixels are the bridges that are talking to each other. Well, what's going to happen since the privacy is kind of getting whack? It's going to go down to zero party data or first party data, which is we are in charge of kind of maintaining all the privacy. We're going to be having to put certain other pieces in place where we can still grab other data. However, the most important thing is that what we need to look at is that our what we have in place is not a one size fits all. Okay. So when we think of that right now, most of us, if not all of us, I would say most of us have, like, let's say we have, like Krista, you have your waist guide, right? So it's like, okay, so we're going to the waist guide, and it's really just like maybe 3 steps of the funnel. You opt in, now you get a thank you page, you get the same email sequence, right? Well, we want to now look to get the people the right message at the right time, right? So we're going to say, when we get to, let's say, the landing page, maybe we ask a couple of questions that has to do with waste or whatever you're offering. So maybe on the page, it would say, like, let's just say for me, so when it comes to ads, what are you struggling with most? Is it your targeting? Is it your messaging, like your copy, or your creative? I don't know. Let's just say those three. Then, based on what they choose, they enter their name and email. Then the next page could be all about messaging. Then the email sequence is about messaging because that's what they chose, right? So now we're taking them on a specific journey because they themselves said, I am struggling with messaging, or this is where, I need more help. And now you are the person that can come up with the credibility, authority, and show them all the good things that you can do for them or help them with in order for them to go on this thing. And here's the thing, because you might be thinking, oh my gosh, do I have to now create all these different funnels and all these different email sequences and start to get into that like overwhelm? You do, but you don't. So it's all about just using the same thing, but maybe you swap out a couple of words that specifically speak to the messaging, the targeting in this. Or if you're going to do an email that has resources, okay, swap out a different blog or podcast episode or whatever, right? So I think that's where we're really heading into. And if you start doing some of this now, you're going to be so far ahead of the game because not everybody else is doing it. Not everybody else is aware of this, right? And it's, again, going back to creating that predictable growth and getting those raving fans that be like, oh my gosh, she like nailed it. I didn't need to hear about all this targeting because I know who my audience is. I was struggling with my message. That makes
I think
sense.
that's actually brilliant. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
yes, it sounds like more work and all of those things, but if you can be that much more targeted in your marketing and in your advertising, why not? I bet that's going to actually shorten the buying cycle. I'm curious
Yep.
to see how that ends up working, but that would be what I would imagine happens.
Yes, yes, absolutely. And when you're talking about, you talked about this also too, like, are you measuring like how, when they become a lead, when they become a sale? Those are definitely things you should measure. And I can guarantee that if you're speaking to what they wanted, that they are going to for sure convert faster.
Yeah. Okay. So that's kind of a shiny, bright future that's coming, which is a
Hmm.
little exciting. And remember how I always tell you have to have 30% capacity in your schedule?
Yes, yes.
This might be one of those things that eats up some of that 30% capacity.
Well, and when I first heard of it, I just was like, oh, like, right. And I was like, okay, let me be open to hearing. And I'm like, what if I just started with my best converting thing, whatever the first lead magnet is. And then what we're looking at is, and I even did this back in the day a little bit when Facebook ads were like, thriving, is I would say, like, we know, like, let's say there's three main problems that somebody has, right? So it's like, even with the ads, it's like, how are we bringing them in from the different problems, but they're all going back to one place. So it's like your main thing is going to stay the same. It's just, how are you bringing them in, right? How are you specifically speaking to these things to then get them to convert faster?
It makes sense. I'm thinking I'm just let's talk this out for everybody. So my waste guide, for example, there's 10 areas of waste. I could see
Hmm.
10 different ads hitting on one of those particular areas of waste because each area has its own problem set, its own root cause behind it. And so it would be bringing people in based on the thing that's the most urgent issue or challenge for them right now,
Yes,
instead of necessarily hitting them with all 10. But meanwhile, the solution is the same regardless from
exactly.
a product offer or kind of working together perspective.
Exactly, exactly. And even to your point, like sometimes in our programs, we call things like super cute or, you know what I mean? Like it all kind of rhymes together. We just have to remember, like you were talking about earlier, the positioning. So, how are they describing whatever this first, let's say number one, waste number one is this, and you might have some cute name or call it something. However, how are they describing it to then get them in, right? I love that. I love that. Absolutely, yes.
All right. So I feel like we could talk about this for days, but
I know.
tell people more about you and your work and where they can learn more about you and if you have anything exciting coming up for them.
Yes, yes. Okay, so I do have a boutique marketing agency and I do all the things. And then I was thinking about it the other day and I'm like hearing people describe what I do versus other ads managers do. And I'm like, really, I am a growth strategist, right? I gave myself a new title and really the predictable growth started to kind of like come to life and build. And as I was really looking at it, and really everybody is looking for predictable growth, right? Who doesn't want to know that? So that's really what I'm looking to build. And a lot of people, they're either like, hey, either I don't have the resources to hire an agency, or maybe I have someone on my team to do it. I just need some guidance and really understand this holistically. So I created the Predictable Growth Summit. It's going to be a 3-day live virtual event, and then we're going to be talking about what goes into creating this predictable growth in your business, especially with all these changes that are happening, that we're going to be living in this post iOS world. So it's kind of cool to be able to kind of get an idea, maybe like put it on hold, right, from your Chuck system, that we can love it for later, or put like a plan in place of when you're going to tackle XYZ and try to figure out which you should do first or second or third. So I think it's going to be so much fun. I already have so many cool ideas because I know sitting for 3 days, but I wanted to make it more like a live event as possible. And really, because I mean, who like I haven't, well, I did go to one live event, but I used to go to more of them and they were so much fun being, so I'm trying to make it where we can still network and talk to other people, even though we're virtual. So it's going to be so much fun.
When is that? It's coming up really soon, isn't it?
Yeah, it's September 13th through 15th.
That's super exciting. I will be there. My team will be there. I am really excited for it. So tell people where they can get registered or learn more about it, or just learn more about your agency and the work that you do.
Yeah, well, you can find me on Instagram at Michelle Fernandez. I also have a podcast, The Traffic and Conversion Show. But if you want to check out the summit, it's predictablegrowthsummit.com.
I love it. All those links will be down below in the show notes, and you will find an episode on Michelle's podcast with me as well.
Yes.
So you can check out her podcast, which is an excellent podcast.
Thank
So,
you.
Michelle, thank you so much for being here. I
Thank
so
you.
appreciate your time, your brilliance. Any final tips for entrepreneurs on creating a high converting and actually effective ad strategy in today's landscape?
Yeah, and I would not be scared, right? Because this is not going away. And really, if you look at all the people you look up to, all these influencers and these 7, 8 figure, whatever it is, they are all still doing this. If this was like a bad thing, everybody would pull out, right? Because the bottom line is you need to be seen to sell. And there are ways that you can be preparing your ad funnel that are not going to break the bank, that are going to get you the conversions that you're looking for, get you that brand awareness, all that good stuff. So don't be afraid. Just go for it.
I love it. And final question I ask everybody is, how do you work smarter, not harder, and keep things lean in your business?
Oh my goodness, that's a good one. I definitely use systems. I have routines, I have systems. I Yeah. And I have everybody on my team follow them as well. Like everything is documented. So we try to, you had hit on it earlier today when we were talking, where they're like, they run self-sufficient. And I pride myself with an open door policy. Like if you need any clarification or something changed, or they have, maybe said, oh, I think we can run it a little bit more efficient this way. I'm totally like, all right, let's do it. Right. So yeah, that's what I do.
I love it. Empowered teams, self sufficient teams, systems. You're talking my language. So excellent.
Mm-hmm.
Well, thank you so much for being here, everyone. I hope you enjoyed this conversation as much as I did, and I will see you again next week. Thank you for joining me for another episode of the Lean Out Your Business podcast. I hope you got a lot of value and actionable insights from today's show, and would love if you take a moment to leave us a review. If you have any questions on today's episode or on how to lean out your business, join us over in our private Facebook community, where every week we do live training and Q&A, and I'd love to have you be part of the conversation. Head to leanoutmethod.com/group to join us. And before you go, be sure to subscribe to the show so you're the first to know when we release a new episode. We'll see you next week.